Hello there, everybody. I'm Ross Pitt Shark Hunter, here with my lovely assistant.
Wizzy.
Ah, isn't he a doll? We're here for the Ross Pitt and Wizzy Puff Fanfiction Power Hour. I might need to change the name, who knows. Today, we bring you another sad story with where the first letter in the title is I. Last time we had I Daybreaker. This time we have I Fluttershy, or Autumn Without End, by President Dead. So, clearly we're going to get some happy fun times.
Sounds like it.
It does indeed, my friend.
For being honest, horror stories are usually happy fun times. Otherwise, you wouldn't read them.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if this is a horror story. I don't think it is. It doesn't say horror.
Horror, sad, depressing drama, whatever.
It's dark and sad.
I just count dark things as horror.
There's a horror tag on Fanfiction. Actually, how old is this? Yeah, there should have been a horror tag at this time. There used to not be a horror tag on Fanfiction, and that really made me mad because horror was like one of my things. Not my main
Come
thing.
on.
Main thing was comedy, but you know. But yeah. I suppose we should get into this. I Fluttershy.
Dude, there's almost no dialogue. Okay, never mind. I found the dialogue. Alright, I can just lay back for a while you do all this reading.
Heck yeah, baby. They all wonder about me. I know they do. They wonder who I am, why I am. I saw it when I was a filly, and I still see it now. In childhood, it was impatience and exasperation. Now, it's just pity. No pony understands me, and no pony ever will. Even those closest to me, that is, my loving family and dearest of friends, whom I have somehow managed to convince over long years that they know me, will never touch me, the real me. The very first time it happened, I knew at once that I could never, ever confide in any pony else, and the clarity of this notion frightened me.
Dude, Fluttershy has bigger walls up than China.
Ooh. Got him. China's walls are tiny.
Talking about the Great Wall of China.
I know, but it's tiny compared to this.
Okay, sure, it's tiny, yet you can see it from space. Nice.
You can't, though. That's a myth.
Are you saying I've been lied to by NASA?
Yeah, sure. I don't think NASA ever said that, but we'll get into that some other day.
They told me they were NASA. Never mind, this is stupid. Go on.
The pain of withholding this terrible, terrible burden from my friends in particular is worse than anything I have endured at the hands of my nameless tormentor. But I withhold it out of love, not fear. It's not that I think my friends will not understand, but rather that, having learned this awful truth, they will be incapable of sitting idly by and doing nothing. I have witnessed this many times before, the state of being which takes control of my friends when they sense that something is not right with me, or any one of our number. Their typically soft, friendly faces harden, a glint of savage determination entering their kind eyes, the blistering madness of devotion. Therefore, however much I try to explain to Twilight and the others that they cannot help me, they will not accept it. They will not allow themselves to accept it. Some things are best done with help. Some things are best done alone. Some things must be done with help, and thereby some things must be done alone.
Fluttershy, no. Come on.
I find myself remembering one particularly difficult conversation I had with Rainbow Dash not long ago.
Come on, Fluttershy.
Rainbow Dash urges me, magenta eyes blazing and flicking her tail with irritation.
I'm your friend, for Pete's sake. Why won't you just tell me what's wrong? I want to help you. Stop shutting me out.
Because it's nothing, Dashy, I insist half-heartedly, my eyes fixed on the floor of my cottage. It needs cleaning, I observe vaguely. I simply don't have the strength nor the drive to be convincing in my lies. Really,
I don't believe you,
says Rainbow Dash, and she sounds so hurt that I am forced to look back up at her. I take her hooves in mine, open my mouth, and make out with her. Oh, it's so hot, yeah. No. I take her hooves in mine, open my mouth, and say something. To say something, change my mind, drop her hooves, and embrace her tightly instead. I'm so sorry, Rainbow Dash. I'm so sorry, I say, my throat constricting as I hold back tears of remorse. Our hearts beat as one through the debility, of our mortal frameworks.
Thump, thump.
It's nothing, I swear. I pull away from her and am dismayed to see that Rainbow refuses to look me in the eye, her gaze firmly fixed on the floor, as mine had been only moments ago. I sigh heavily and press my forehead against hers, our manes intertwining, pink and polychrome. You know I would never hide anything from you. You're my best friend, Dashy. If it was something important, I swear I would tell you. I swear. It is this that I am thinking of as I step into the throbbing, infinite darkness once more. I am as ready as I will ever be. I've been doing this once every 2 years for so long now that I can no longer recall where it all began. What's up?
I'm gonna go make a sandwich. You want anything?
Yeah. Yeah, some turkey, some mayonnaise,
Gotcha.
some salmon.
What? Who put
Olive
salmon on a
Garden.
sandwich?
I don't know, people. Freaks, I would suppose.
Bears. All right, continue.
Harry the Bear. Oh, that's a My Little Pony joke. In
Okay.
case you didn't.
I just assumed as much.
At present, winter is over, and it is that time of year when nights are still very, very cold, but days are now very, very warm. It is a time of confusion and frustration, coats and scarves and hats tossed begrudgingly aside at noon, and beds painstakingly stripped by day and refitted by night. Here in the dark, however, it is forever autumn. That sounds awesome. Not only does that sound awesome, Forever Autumn is an awesome name for a fan fiction.
I don't know. I personally like summer.
Well, guess what? You suck.
Oh my goodness. I
Boom.
didn't say that
Gotcha.
autumn was bad. I like all the seasons, really. Spring is the worst, but at least it brings flowers.
It is cold, without being freezing, and everything feels as though it is always dying, but never truly dead. Here, there is a distinct sense of endings without end. It takes my breath away. As I gaze at my complete and utter absence of surroundings, I breathe deeply, closing my weary eyes and opening both my ears and my mind's eye. If you listen closely enough here in the dark, you could hear a sort of melancholic whispering of no discernible source or direction. Hey, hey, you whispers. Calm down, I'm trying to read here, honestly. To me, this serves as yet another reminder of equestrian autumn. When all the leaves have fallen, lying wet, crumpled, and forlorn upon the unfeeling grass and the uncompromising dirt. I like to take long, lonely walks through the desolate carcasses of wind-blasted trees and molted scales of a sweet life of opulence cast aside. These discarded jigsaw puzzle pieces rustle and murmur under hoof, and it's almost as if they are speaking to me, the lost language of a forgotten world. I haven't a clue what they say, but I understand them perfectly nonetheless. It is a it is beautiful and heartbreaking in the best and only way possible. Making my way through the now familiar blackness, I finally see him waiting for me. He looks the same as always. He never changes, never ages. Long, dark brown hair, subtly kinking at the ends. I knew that was kinking.
Is it
Just
Shaggy?
thought it would have been funny.
I think it's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Oh my goodness. Shaggy beard, glasses, black long-sleeve shirt, pleasant one-sided smile, dark penetrating eyes at once like mirrors, at once like boreholes, my murky reflection falling away into the depths of eternity. He is much taller than I am, but I get the feeling that he is neither tall nor short for his kind. Whatever that may be, he has always frightened me a little, I have to admit, but I'd never been able to quite place my hoof on why exactly. Is it a brony? I bet it's a brony.
Oh boy.
It just seems to me like there's something not there. Looking at him is like seeing a flower without petals, a book without words, a kiss without intimacy. I don't know what these enigmatic thoughts of mine could possibly mean, but I am certain that they are applicable, if not entirely accurate.
Hello, Fluttershy.
Yo, what's up?
Hey.
He says, hands thrust casually into his pockets and head tilted slightly to the side, as if perpetually curious.
Okay, that's me right now.
Oh, you. Directly behind him is an entrance with which I am not all too acquainted, composed wholly of ever-changing light, now pink, now red, now blue, lacy tendrils of pure luster from within bleeding into the endless black. It's incredible, but I know what lies beyond its heavenly radiance. Hi, I reply. My mouth is suddenly drier than the small sandstone cliff in my little garden, and I can already feel an echo of the horror to come seeping into my bones, into my veins. The darkest regions of my being begin to empty themselves of the terror and hurt I have buried there. Buried. And I begin to panic, but manage to get myself under control reasonably quickly. Taking a few deep, discreet breaths, I have never once questioned what I am being forced to do, because it has always somehow felt inherently right, and I'm not about to start now. That's you!
I'm just so not used to it, okay? You okay?
He asks me inquisitively. He hasn't moved an inch. Well, so much for discreet. Yes, I say, a little more breathlessly than I would have liked. I'm fine, thank you. He nods, then turns slightly to look at the dazzling entrance to my doom, now glowing a fiery red, and then back at me.
So,
He says nonchalantly, face bathed in incandescent blood.
are you ready? What is going on?
I'm thinking you're Death, and I'm Fluttershy. That's my guess.
It's so hard to understand.
I'm sure everything will come around. There are sequels, after all. We'll get into that later. Wink. I exhale one final time, and then stand up straight. Braveheart, Fluttershy. Braveheart. I do this for my friends. I do this for my family. I do this so that hope lives to fight another day. I do this for all Equestria.
Is she killing herself because she thinks it's going to make the world a better place?
Gosh, I hope not.
This is what I'm reading in the subtext.
Yes, it's the subtext of the thing. but maybe it's real. He steps to the side as I make my way toward the light, hands now held behind his back, and head tilted downward slightly. How do you know what hands are? I'm kidding, of course. Creatures do indeed have hands in Equestria, but a lot of people ponder that question.
Remember the giant monkey? He had hands.
Yeah, that existed.
I can make a guess.
Hands now held behind his back, and head tilted downward slightly, almost waiter-esque. Despite my best efforts to remain calm, my heart has begun racing like Angel Bunny on sugar, and my entire body is shaking violently. My tummy churns and aches, right in the tummy. My eyes burned with unshed tears. Oh, Celestia, no. I begin to remember. The memory of the pain is so intense that it's just about physical. It's not so much my mind that remembers, but my body, my skin. Nearly there, Fluttershy, nearly there. Once you're inside, there's no turning back. Take comfort in the inevitable.
Fluttershy, Fluttershy, darling. Are you all right? Can you hear me? Say something.
Opening my eyes slowly, and with no small amount of labor, I blearily realize I have a face full of Rarity. Oh goodness, I must have fainted. Yesterday's session was an especially bad one. I
Rarity
groggily
was,
recall as...
I was gonna say Rarity, it's like only a princess's kiss can wake her up.
But Rarity's not a princess.
You think so. I disagree.
I mean, strictly speaking, in the barest sense of the word, yeah, she's not.
Okay. Sure.
I groggily recall as Rarity carefully helps me to my hooves. Eyeing my surroundings, I am relieved beyond measure that the two of us are at the boutique, and not in the town square someplace else, public. Wait, why am I here?
Fluttershy.
I finally realize that Rarity has been speaking to me the entire time.
What happened to you?
I gingerly massage my temples and push my disheveled mane out of my eyes, wincing at the familiar ache which occupies my whole body. I can no longer remember a day when it wasn't present. What is more, I can't say for certain, but the pain seems to be getting worse and worse as the years go by.
Are you listening to me?
Rarity demands, placing both hooves on my shoulders and shaking me hesitantly, as if trying to snap me out of my stupor, but afraid that I might actually snap instead. She just punches Rarity. The sense of motion, despite how gentle it is, instigates the feeling that my insides are rattling about, and I yelp and whimper until Rarity pulls away, distressed.
Fluttershy. That's a whisper. Fluttershy.
She whispers.
Please tell me what is happening to you.
Yeah, that's the voice I expected. That's the tone, at least. I slowly sink into the floor, panting with exertion. There are eels writhing, thrashing in my stomach.
Oh God, what did she eat?
I don't know. Steak. Probably steak.
Ponies can't eat beef. That's not a thing.
Oh, but it is, and I have a fanfiction to prove it.
A.
That's for another day. Something I wasn't even aware existed until all this began. Tinkles and crunches like broken glass. Tinkles. My muscles are shallow water, and my bones are wet sand. My ears ring incessantly, and my mind has degenerated into an incomprehensible collection of nauseating colors and fragmented thoughts, themselves composed entirely of shapeless configurations. It's all too much and too little simultaneously. At this point, and with what is left of my senses, I perceive that Rarity, to my relief, appears to have finally given up trying to communicate with me. Instead, she wordlessly lays herself down directly behind me on the floor, and then gently pulls me into her soft white belly. She puts her hooves around me, one about my head and the other on my side, and rests her cheek on my shoulder. I sigh, and as Rarity cuddles me, the world suddenly seems so far away, so distant, like the solitary pinprick of a star in the infinite patchwork of space. All I can feel now is Rarity and the floor of the boutique. The former a warm blanket, and the latter a deliciously cool freshwater stream. Well, that's not a great combination, I would say. I don't want to be in a freshwater stream whilst having a blanket on me. That's just ridiculous.
You're just gonna drown.
Yeah. Or worse, get all soggy and wet.
Ugh.
A perfect balance. Well, we've already discussed that. I'm probably burning up, but by now I'm too tired to give it any further consideration. I can feel the muted anti-state that is sleep settling over me, and as Rarity and I sink through the tile and become one with the earth, our limbs interlacing roots, our hearts flowering seed pods, I am suddenly aware that the two of us are now forever undying. Uh-oh, forever young.
How can I help you? Oh no, it's just, how can I help?
You, Rarity eventually whispers, so close that her tender breath brushes my ears. Or was that her lips? A question and a kiss. I think I smile, but again, I'm not sure. And for just a few seconds of atrophied consciousness, everything is fine. Hold me, I murmur, my hands leaving my body far behind. Please, don't tell the others. Death. All at once I stop, my vision pervaded with light. I turn to look at him, and he returns my gaze questioningly. Oh, we're back here. Actually, I say, my heart thudding painfully and threatening to tear itself free from my furry chest at any second. I feel quite faint. Can't we just talk for a bit, please? He blinks.
Fluttershy is a furry.
Yeah, Wizzy. She's a horse. He blinks twice. Finally, after what may well have been an eternity of his intimidating, unimpeded stare, he smiles that charming smile of his.
I don't see why not. Time has no meaning here, after all.
At this moment he stiffens, then suddenly whirls around, a look of what could only be disbelief etched onto his face. I quickly follow his gaze and find myself looking at two plain wooden chairs that have seemingly appeared out of nowhere, which, then again, is probably where I am right now, to be honest. He spins around and looks at me again, eyes wide.
Well, it appears that this was meant to be. How intriguing.
The two of us sit. So, I say nervously, shuffling my soft backside on the hard wood of the chair in an attempt to get comfy, and unsure of how to begin. I fluff my wings, out of habit. This chair isn't the most comfortable, and I'm still feeling really rather lightheaded. I'm not sure my host has had many guests before today.
So?
He echoes, apparently unfazed by my blatant uncertainty. So, who are you? I eventually ask, rubbing my legs. I've always wanted to know. He exhales and gazes into the blackness before us, serene blue light playing over his handsome features.
Now that is a question.
He is silent for a moment.
I call myself the gatekeeper.
Zool, he replies eventually. He looks at me, then he smiles.
But I'm more of a glorified janitor, really. I only call myself the gatekeeper because it sounds cool.
Right there with you, buddy. He whispers, conspiratorially,
Ross calls himself the gatekeeper all the time.
head tilted towards me. Yeah, when people come up to my window at McDonald's and ask, "Hey, what do you consider yourself?" I go, "Well, I'm like a gatekeeper, you see." I giggle a little at this. A soft right hoof over my mouth self-consciously and wait for him to continue. It's strange. I don't feel quite so frightened of him anymore. I suppose that, despite his insistence that he was not in control of the situation the one time I briefly interrogated him, I still, nonetheless, blamed him for my suffering. What with him being the one and only individual I had to interact with before my obligatory torment.
Sometimes
The gatekeeper continues.
folks find themselves here in my realm, and well, it's my job to push them in the right direction, which is almost always out. I am a shepherd of souls, and I answer only to the universe itself. Okay, hippie.
He opens his eyes wide and waves his hand around a little, still smiling.
A universe whisperer, if you will. Oh my god, he's so... Never mind.
To my surprise, I realize that the gatekeeper appears to be making fun of himself, and I find myself liking him more and more with each new thing he imparts. "I see," I say, looking around. "And what exactly is this place, anyway? Your, realm?"
It has a number of names,
The gatekeeper tells me.
but most people simply call it hell. But most people simply call it the void, or the emptiness. It is
That's what I
the
call
unoccupied space between all things. Yeah?
Yeah, it is space.
Yeah.
He narrows one eye as if deep in thought, looking at me with the other.
It's like the egg carton around the eggs. Or, a metaphysical train station or something.
The gatekeeper bobbles his head from side to side a bit.
More or less.
Yeah, I nod to signify my understanding. It's all making my poor head spin, but I think I'm following along quite well, all things considered. The gatekeeper and I sit in silence for a while, the light from the entrance dancing over our faces, our bodies, like a soundless revelry of misplaced souls and banished dreams. After what could have been years or mere minutes, I turn to look at the gatekeeper again, and he reciprocates curiously. I lean forward a little and stare deep into his eyes of no one determinable color. Oh my goodness, this person's British. Do you see that, you?
Oh my god. Or Canadian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or Canadian.
Australian, Irish, Scottish.
German.
Pick.
I don't know about German. "Ever since I first met you," I say softly, brushing my mane out of my face, "I've always been a little bit afraid of you, because, I don't know, it just feels like there's something missing with you, in you, something lost or forgotten or given away." The gatekeeper raises his eyebrows. He seems genuinely surprised.
Well, aren't you a perceptive one?
"Well, I don't mean to brag, but..." I shrug modestly, unable to stop myself from smiling at the compliment, but I don't say anything back. Don't mean to brag. I don't know. It's nothing. It's just good eyes. The gatekeeper runs a hand through his hair and sighs.
Oh, I was picturing him like the Grim Reaper and, big old skull, no hair.
They described him earlier. Or
Yeah,
I suppose
but I
I
kinda missed
described
that
him
part.
earlier. Yeah, I guess you did.
In short, yes, I am missing you. Now it's Fluttershy x Gatekeeper fanfiction.
Oh my.
In short, yes, I don't have a soul.
So he is a brony.
Ayy.
He snorts somewhat bitterly.
Ironic, huh? A soulless shepherd of souls. Fun times.
I mean, I would say it's not that ironic. Like, if you did have a soul, would you have to shepherd your own soul?
Hey, Ross, it's, the next part is, me, when you're waiting for me to get on Discord.
Oh, you. At this point in our dialogue, I am suddenly reminded of Discord, and am struck by how just alike they are. Wow, could I have read that worse? Yes, I could have said, and am struck by some eggs and potatoes sitting there on the counter. But it's not what it reads, is it? And am struck by just how alike he and the gatekeeper really are. That outward gaiety and playfulness, but with a potent and profound hidden somewhere deep, deep within, a barely perceptible undercurrent in a carefully calculated sea of jovial charm and slightly patronizing chivalry.
Patronizing.
Patronizing chivalry. Sorry, I've got Harry Potter on the mind, apparently.
Does patronizing have a Z?
I don't know, I didn't take English. That's how I assume English is.
Yeah, I don't know. According to the drop down, it has a Z, but maybe another way of spelling it. This is Discord. My dear Fluttershy.
Yeah, that's the one. Discord begs me, his inverted T of cup, as he likes to call it, hovering at his side, long forgotten.
I implore you.
I shake my head firmly. Discord, no.
Discord, yes. If some pony is causing you distress, I promise that I can sort it out with minimal discomfort. For me.
Discord persists, lips curled into a serrated smile. A small pony-shaped doll appears in midair next to him. Without looking, Discord snaps his fingers, flipping it upside down and then swiftly dismembering it. I said no, Discord, I say, trying my best not to show the resentment. I sip at my tea, glaring at him as I do so. Discord's ears droop as his face falls. Literally. I look down at his detached head, lying on my faded turquoise rug sternly.
What the heck?
It's Discord. It's fine. It's not like bloody.
Fluttershy, you know that it so distresses me to see you like this.
Discord's head imparts mournfully.
You know that I'd be happy to do anything for you. Anything to make you happy.
In the background, the doll juggles its own limbs. A self-contained circus, a living joke. I sighed. Looking down at my hooves, my head is really hurting. Of course, Discord. Of course I know that.
Then what?
Discord pleads, reattaching his head.
Is the matter?
Look, Discord, sometimes we feel sad or afraid for no apparent reason at all. I tell the adamant Draconequus patiently. There's really nothing you can do about it, so please, 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 don't concern yourself. Some things are just best dealt with alone. That's just the way it is. Discord opens its mouth, shuts it, then sits down. The verbal component of our conversation may finally be over, but Discord's eyes betray the endless stream of questions, propositions, and pleas he no doubt suppresses. I am reminded of my belief that nothing is ever truly over. Furthermore, my tea has gone cold. Well,
Tea's gone cold, I'm wondering why I got out of bed at all.
Well, who were you before all this? When you had a soul, that is. I now ask, having emerged from the depths of the bottomless recollection. This causes the gatekeeper to laugh, and I am more than a little bit taken aback.
Before Fluttershy? There is no before.
He chuckles.
I
He's
have
cute.
always been like this, and I always will be. So it is with you. So it is with all life. Existence is recurrence, Consistency is everything, and everything is consistent.
I frown. What do you mean? The gatekeeper looks at me, and I recognize that barely concealed condescension.
What I mean, Fluttershy, is that do you even remember when you began doing all this?
He indicates over at the entrance.
Dragging yourself here to suffer every 2 years. I mean, really.
Well, no, I admit, but surely.
But nothing.
The gatekeeper interrupts me impatiently.
Neither one of us has never not been doing this. Double negative.
The gatekeeper and I sit in silence once more, and I fear our conversation might finally be over. But after the entrance has changed color 5 more times, my host speaks anew.
Oh. Would you like to know why?
Thank you, my dear host. He asks.
Why you have to go inside there?
I feel myself nodding numbly. Numbly. You said that it was for the betterment of my world, I say weakly. That if I didn't suffer, Equestria would. The gatekeeper does his little head bobble of ambiguity again.
Well, yes, but actually no. Well, yes, but also no. You see, your selfless deed is what, in fact, keeps your world alive.
He looks at me, and I vaguely perceive the acceleration of my heartbeat.
Now, this may be a bit difficult to understand, but Equestria is inherently imbalanced. The overwhelming goodness of your world is not sustainable with regard to the natural order of all things. Thus, your 1,000,000 years of abuse inside that,
He points at the entrance,
is the price which must be paid to correct this disparity.
By now I am trembling from head to hoof. But what is that? I squeak. Where does that entrance lead to?
That, my dear, is the sum total of all pain in the universe.
The gatekeeper answers grimly.
It is known as the mutual affliction.
Once again, silence descends. I stare at the entrance, now a dazzling purple rarity would die violently for. And the gatekeeper looks at me without looking at me. So, I say, having regained the power of speech, it has to be me, and me alone, that does this, yes?
Correct.
The gatekeeper replies.
I have been led to believe that you are the purest being in all creation.
That's some bullshit. He utters a short, incredulous laugh.
By rights, you shouldn't even exist, but I guess that's the balance.
That's just the way it is. I'm sure that's a song somewhere or something. The gatekeeper's eyes become somewhat misty.
A droplet of brightest light in an ocean of blackest hurt.
He murmurs. He looks at me
Murmur.
again. Murmur.
In this regard, you are the most important pony in all Equestria. You are the focal point. This person is definitely a big Fluttershy fan.
Mm-hmm.
The very nucleus of your world. Without you, well, there would be no Equestria, would there?
Oh my, I whisper. It is all I could manage at this point. I knew the truth would be awful, but this I never imagined. The gatekeeper looks back at me, a mischievous glint in his eye.
So, you know how when you're young and selfish, and your parents will insist always that the world doesn't revolve around you?
I nod again, just as numbly as before, my little heart beating away. The gatekeeper smirks.
Well, in your case, they would be wrong.
But if I have to be inside there for 1,000,000 years, how am I not old or dead by now? I ask, shivering.
Because time doesn't pass in here. I already said that, stupid.
Oh gosh, you're so dumb.
Because,
The gatekeeper sighs.
like I said, time as you know it does not exist here. That's why every time you return home, you realize that no time has passed at all.
He scratches the back of his head, scrunching up his face.
In fact, me saying 1,000,000 years is probably misleading. It's only 1,000,000 years if we were to apply your perception of linear time in your world to be the absence of the very same thing inside the mutual affliction, which, in being a repository of another non-physical phenomenon, does not adhere to time. Unfortunately for you, however, this is more accurate than one would hope. That with you actually being able to perceive time both as a naturally occurring circumstance and as a linearity, but I can see that this is all well over your head. So let's just say that the process defies any and all rational explanation and move on, shall we?
I'm not sure why, but at this point, I begin to cry.
I don't know what you're saying.
My body is shaking and my tears flow freely. Perhaps I have finally come to terms with the gravity of my situation. Either way, I'm not okay. Not okay at all.
Oh.
I hear the gatekeeper say.
They all think I'm shy, that I was brought up insecure, incompetent. But it's not that. It's not that at all. Not by a long shot.
I sob into my mane. Everything hurts.
I'm just so tired. Every second, every minute of every day. And always so scared, remembering the pain and always expecting it to come back. None of them have any idea.
Through the tears, I can vaguely make out the gatekeeper. Sounded like I said the gatekeeper.
Hey.
The gatekeeper still sitting next to me, shoulders tense, hands clutching tightly together in his lap. He looks rather helpless.
Inside there, they all just tear me
Now hold
apart.
on there, son.
That's you, shoot.
Yeah, that's me. Boy.
Inside there.
I thought since it was focusing on the gatekeeper, it would be him talking.
They all just tear me apart, over and over and over again.
I continue inconsolably.
It goes on for so long, and when it's finally over, I feel like there's nothing left of me. Nothing at all. I feel so empty and alone and like I'll never be whole again. Do you know what that feels like? Do you know what that's like? Being completely destroyed and then sent back to your loved ones, a broken toy, inadequately repaired and missing only the big red gift bow, unable to ever tell them what's wrong?
Nope, I don't.
The gatekeeper replies softly. Well, softly, more as an asshole would in Wizzy's version.
Well, he seems like one.
I don't know if he does at this point. He tentatively reaches across to me with his right hand, but then thinks better of it and withdraws, placing it back on his lap.
But I've been inside. The mutual affliction, that is. Only once, though.
His voice is hushed and his words awkward. Yeah, sure.
I think it gave me a soul, but I can never really be sure.
He looks over at me, and the expression on his face makes me realize that I finally met someone who understands, who has any idea of the horror that is my existence.
Either way,
He continues.
it was agony. Pure agony. Indescribable. I felt like I was being ripped to pieces, just as you said.
At last I stand, and the gatekeeper follows suit, still looking uncharacteristically awkward.
Right.
I finally say, wiping the last of my tears from my face. One final sniffle.
I'll have equestrian my hooves then?
The gatekeeper nods, hands back inside his pockets as if nothing ever transpired between the two of us. I suddenly realize that our chairs are no longer there.
Nothing's over until everything's over, Fluttershy.
The gatekeeper says, a little sadly.
But until that day comes, you are all that stands between your world and total oblivion. It's all up to you, and it's always been that way, whether you knew it or not. No pressure, though.
I nod, surprised by my sudden onset of tranquility. I looked up at my host, who is looking back at me with his unusual interest.
Gatekeeper, thank you for this talk, I say. It's been, well, if not completely pleasant, then certainly helpful.
The gatekeeper kneels down so that the two of us are level. He places his hand on my cheek, looks deeply into my eyes.
I'll see you in 1,000,000 years,
He tells me softly. I'm fairly certain I manage a smile.
That soon?
Yeah, she really doesn't want to see him.
My new friend rewards me with a hearty laugh. Yeah, that's the laugh you're going with?
Yeah, it's hearty.
Yeah, I guess so.
Exactly.
He replies warmly.
That's exactly right.
Lightly kissing my forehead, the gatekeeper allows his lips to linger there momentarily, while he gently runs his fingers through my silky mane.
Why is everyone trying to get with Fluttershy?
I don't know, it's pretty weird. As he slowly stands, I make my way into the light. Looking back one final time, I see him smiling at me.
I'll be waiting, cutie.
He says.
All right, I added the cutie.
You did add the cutie, you silly bitch. He says, and hearing this, I take one more step and feel it pulling me inside, swallowing me whole. I know who I am. I know my purpose, and I know what I must do. No pony may ever understand me, or know of what it is I do for the betterment of all. But they will continue to cherish me unconditionally all the same. And I think that's important. I think that's precious. It will keep me going as what's left of my soul is charred. What's left of my body is torn to meat, and what's left of my love is devoured raw. I suddenly realize that the leaves are at their most beautiful when they are dying, and my little heart swells. Here in the dark it is forever autumn, and so am I. And then it begins.
Whoa!
Well, shucks.
I'll be honest, I did not get a lot of it, but by the end there, I understood what was going on. I don't know if there's supposed to be, like, another meaning to any of this or anything.
I don't think so. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I think it was, Sorry, what was that?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I think it's just, like, Fluttershy has to endure 1,000 years of pain in order... Well, 1,000, 1,000,000. I think they said 1,000 at first. And then there was a whole, see you in 1,000,000 years, pal, at the end there. But, yeah, it's basically just Fluttershy has to endure a long time of pain for, Equestria's, life and living and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I think they tried too hard with a lot of this dialogue to sound deep and smart. Got a lot of big words in every paragraph.
Maybe a little.
But I get why it's a very artsy piece. Not exactly my cup of tea, but I can see why a lot of people would enjoy it.
I certainly dig it, personally. Maybe that's just because I'm, fun, but...
Dude! Remember
up,
that sound that I was so confused by yesterday during our last recording?
Yes?
I figured it out. It's when my battery gets down to 10%, it makes a weird noise.
Oh my gosh. And now I have to leave that part in.
You do.
Shoot. Thanks, jerk. But yeah, someday we're definitely going to have to do the sequels.
Oh boy.
And looking at the description for the third sequel, or the second sequel, the third in the story, it's certainly gonna... The next one's certainly gonna be interesting. But
It's just gonna be like Satan keeps poking her with a pitchfork for 1,000,000 years, and then she gets to go back.
Yeah. But yeah, the next one in the series is 9,000 words long, so we won't be getting to it for a while.
This guy loves to write.
Oh please! Earlier today I read like a 14,000 word chapter.
Well, yeah, but did it have as many artsy words as this?
Maybe not as many, but certainly quite a few.
I can definitely see this being a very cathartic piece of work for the writer.
Yeah, I could see the writer rather enjoying this.
Yeah, that's a part that I can really respect about it.
Yeah. But what do we have in store for us next time? Well, you guys will just have to wait and see.
Cupcakes.
We're gonna
Let's
talk
do
about.
cupcakes.
We're not doing cupcakes. Not at
Let's
least
do
not until
cupcakes.
Halloween. Oh fuck! I hate cupcakes. But yeah, what's in store for us next? Who the hell knows? We're gonna discuss it after we quit this recording. But you guys won't know until next week. Wink.
Bye.
I'm gonna miss you all, especially the deaf.